Hello and welcome back to Talkin Pitch Side. I'm your host PJ with my co-host Tony, as always, here to cover all things World Cup right now. Before we get into our World Cup recap here of U.S. men's national team versus Germany, 2-1 defeat, we have one MLS tidbit, Tony. I did want to bring up, just want to get a quick reaction. We're gonna do a lot more of this during the off season. People don't really want to hear about maybe this type of news right now, but Jim Curtin is reportedly going to be Austin FC's new head coach and going to be part of the search team that's going to find the sporting director. So they're going Jim Curtin first, then going to sporting director. I mean, initial reaction, it's a great hire for stability purposes for Austin. I normally don't like to go that way, but when a guy like Jim Curtin is out there and you know he's the guy going forward, I think it makes sense to hire it in this way. And I just think they can go a route now if they really want to, and he can go pluck somebody from Philadelphia to be in that role, or however they want to do it, someone that he's worked with in the past to be aligned with him in terms of recruitment, things like that, with a little bit more of a budget. He's probably a little excited about
Yeah,
that over in
yeah.
Austin. But I don't know. For an Austin team that was up and down early on this year, injuries, of course, played a factor in that. And they have some names here now. You don't really know what they are. I think Jim Curtin is the perfect guy to bring short-term stability for this season, and then also long-term growth of what the team could do.
Yeah. I think that it's a great get for Austin. It's a really quick turnaround, honestly, for them to part ways with Estevez and their GM, and then just bam, out the gate, go Jim Curtin. It's always impressive when a guy that's been named in literally every single coaching vacancy in this league for like the last 2 years actually lands in a spot. That means Austin and the ownership and top front office levels is doing something right to have him, especially when it felt like initially it was like everybody was talking about Jim Curtin didn't want to go far from home. He lives in Philly, that's his place, all this and that. And Austin, out of all places, was the team that he ends up grabbing him. So I think it's a really good get for them. I think that the budget thing is a funny point and also a valid point, because that seemed to be a tension point, especially between Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin, and kind of one of the accelerators that made him leave was him saying, we're a piece or two away, we're the bottom spending in the league, just give us anything, like this is all it takes. And he leaves, and in turn, like, Philly keeps doing the churn and burn, and it's got him a supporter shield and potentially a wooden spoon in between. It's like, so it's like everything since then has just been ultimate roller coaster over there too. But I think it's a great get. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Jim Curtin plays with the money, but also with the team. This is a team right now that we think of a lot more defensively. And, the prime Jim Curtin Philly Union was kind of this mid-block counterattack type team that made guys like Julian Carranza look like absolute ballers. So it's something to watch for sure. I don't know if they're looking at this as more of the process, like Jim's going to totally take over the team, because it's not like he's being handed just a total pile of crap. Like
Nope.
there's pieces to work with. And so how he adapts with that, is that going to look like his style? In his 2-year hiatus, has he gone and refined his craft too? Does it look different now? That's all the fun stuff. The thing is, it's not going to be till the start of the sprint season in 2027 that we actually see him coaching with Austin. So we got a long time to brew on those questions still.
Yeah, it's short-term, the most logical name out there. If you're able to get him, go get him. Austin's a much better place to live in than Philadelphia, respectfully to Philadelphia. That's a pitch that you like, come on down to Texas than Austin, and have a nice budget. So I think in his mind it's got to be a pretty ideal situation to play and coach in a place like that. So we'll end it there. MLS talk, get a little tease, a little off-season tease as we get started, and of course after the World Cup we'll do our full MLS. What did you miss? Transfer sagas starting, coaching, maybe some other coaching hires that occur in between now and then. We'll see. But let's get into the good stuff here, Tony, and let's start with USA Germany. Friendly on Saturday. USA goes down 2-1 in this one in a very competitive back and forth game. We saw the U.S. men's national team run out majority of their starting lineup, besides Chris Richards, what everyone's presuming will be the starting lineup now. based on that and some practice information that has come out since then. But Tony, I don't. I think if you came into these two friendlies against these two solid opponents, I don't want to say solid. I think that's discrediting who we played. Very good opponents in this World Cup. If you would have said that you're coming out with a win and a loss, but even in that loss against Germany, it looked as competitive as it was, you're signing up for that all day long if you're the U.S. men's national team. So I don't want to move the goalposts from where they were before we went into this window. I still think you can see the levels of where this national team needs to grow in terms of chance creation and finishing. And I think that's going to be the biggest question mark when we get into the round of 32 and round of 16, especially. But the team we've now seen, Tony, for that 60 minutes that we saw them in this past game, that's a team I'm confident that is going to be in first and second in the group and get into the knockout stage. Your full expectation coming out of this should be we need to beat Paraguay in game one and secure a spot into the knockouts. And from there, take care of business in these other games, win the group. But all focus now has to be you've got to win game one based on how we've seen them perform in these two games and what we know they're capable of. I keep going back to the concern that I have is not even defensively. I think a lot of people have defensive concerns. It is not a defensive concern for me against Paraguay. It's we're going to have the ball in that game. Like, we are going to have the ball, have a lot of time on the ball, and are we going to be able to finish the chances that we get in front of the box up there? And we'll see. I think you saw Balogun, Pulisic, and Tillman all kind of go in and out at times in that Germany game. Now that Germany possessed a lot of the ball while they were on the field, so that played a part in that. But it didn't feel like when we got the ball in build up, weren't able to do much with it. It was all counterattacking opportunities that we saw a lot of our opportunities come from, which isn't a bad thing. I think that's an okay way to play against a team like Germany. I'm just concerned against an opponent like Germany. Our defense isn't strong enough to hold up long enough to allow us to get as many counterattacking opportunities as we want in a game like that. But overall, I was happy. Miles Robinson resulted in 3 of the 4 goals in this friendly window, and by all means, he should not be starting against Paraguay come game 1 in the World Cup, and we should see Chris Richards in there. And that alone, I think, can give you a lot of comfort in where this team is at.
Yes, and I just wonder. I think obviously there's a lot of questions that I think have these last 2 games have been answered. I think we have very few left when it comes to what we think the starting roster is going to look like. But one of those for me is, okay, what if Chris Richards can't go 90 in this first game, which I wouldn't expect. I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe 75 minutes against Paraguay. I would be very surprised if we saw 90 minutes of Chris Richards. What really kind of raised my eyebrow in this was, Mark McKenzie, I thought did fine as that central center back against Senegal. And then we run out Miles Robinson in, starting center back against Germany. Pretty clearly at fault on the first one. I think debatably at fault on the second one. But I just why are we trying that out? What is Potts not seeing in Mark McKenzie to say, yeah, okay, that's going to be like the backup. That's going to be the sub that comes in.
The only conversation I had with some people on that topic specifically that I could see logically why they decided that was Miles Robinson by far and wide is our paciest center back that we have on the roster. And I think, I don't know if he just saw in a game planning situation where you were like, hey, we're going to need the pace from our center back position to keep up with the Germany attack here and what they can do to us. And it didn't really end up happening that way. So that's not what ended up happening, which I don't know if that's just a game planning thing. They were like, hey, maybe this will happen. That didn't end up happening. So he just ended up being like where Mark McKenzie probably would have thrived better. The only other concern I have, and I want to follow up with this because this is something that drives the practice photos that have been going out this week, is there were shots of what people presume to be the starting 11 talking to Poch. Like, he pulled them aside. Now, that group included both Chris Richards and Miles Robinson. So there was 12 guys over there. I don't know what Mark McKenzie did to not
Yeah,
be selected over Miles Robinson, because Miles Robinson has been that bad at times for us in these two friendlies. And I mean, he's been that bad for FC Cincinnati, and I don't see that changing. And that's my only concern is he has this affiliation over Miles Robinson, which I don't really get right now. I think there was a time and place for that that has now passed. And Mark McKenzie, it feels like the guy, or even Austin Trusty, honestly, are two guys that I feel pretty good about in that spot. And I I think right now, if you're a U.S. Men's National Team fan, you're just hoping and praying Chris Richards is good to go for game week 1. And I I mean, he's practicing, he's doing all the things you'd want to see him do. So I'm hopeful for that. But at some point, someone's coming in for Chris Richards because he's not going a full 90 after all these injuries. So
right.
regardless of that, you're still going to see, is it Miles Robinson? Is it Mark McKenzie? Who's coming in for Chris Richards? And you're going to have to live with that for at least 30 minutes in a game. It feels like, because of the Chris Richards injury situation. So it's bizarre. I don't know, because I think the eye test, you just look at it and you're like, Miles Robinson's not marking his guy. He's losing his guys in the box that lead to the second goal in the game. And you just get a little concerned that there's a little lapse for him, that it's going a little too quick and the situation's a little too big, that one goal in a group stage game, Tony, can cost you everything. And that's where you're just hoping and praying Chris Richards is just faking it because he wants to only play in the group stage games at this point. But it's not great. But at the same time, every country is dealing with injuries, so I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, the Chris
Right.
Richards injury. Like, we are seeing big names all over the tournament dropping. Paraguay's best attacking player is not going to play in the game against the United States because of an injury that happened in their last friendly. So I don't want to use that and be like, oh, now we can lose against Paraguay. I don't care who's playing center back. You have to beat that team. So it's the biggest question mark, because I think Chris Urge is one of the biggest leaders, and the back line is one of our weakest points on our team. Um, so we'll see. There's a lot. I don't know. I know I'm just ranting over and over. I'm just
Yeah.
nervous. It's just like
I
nervousness in my belly of like what could happen if Chris Richards isn't good to go.
and part of it too, like I think it's just super easy to be critical on Robinson. We watch him week in and week out, right? Uh, and like defense just generally is a pretty thankless, especially center back is a pretty thankless position. And the mistakes he's made have immediately led to goals. But we're also talking about one moment in the 62 minutes that he played against Germany. Did he stand out? No, by any means. Did he look shaky at times? Absolutely, he did. But, like I think, well, one, I think totally crediting it as his fault against on that second goal is not fair to him,
I
because
agree.
I think that Tyler Adams totally let go of his guy. And if anything, at least you could take this as a good or a bad. The two mistakes that Miles Robinson made were, one, I mean, losing Kai Havertz, but then two, not really closing down very well on Sane. They're two different things, right? So it's not like a
Well,
repeated habit
he,
of like,
he had a
but
turnover with Sane.
he did. Yeah, you're right. But so I don't know. Three different things. Three different things. So it's not like it's the same thing over and over again. Uh, and it's just like
Yeah, but
there's a
that's what concerns me, is it's not
yeah,
the same thing. It's three different
correct. That's what I'm
things
saying. You could look at it
that,
good or bad.
like, I'm viewing as bad as like that's where I feel like the situation might feel like too big for him, where he's just like having these lapses in random points. And you haven't, like, yes, I think it's easy to be like point to this to hit the defenders, and it's really easy to criticize defenders than praise them. But
Yeah,
we, like, even Tim Ream and Alex Freeman, who have had moments they've looked great, they aren't having these like complete blow up turnovers and situations. Like, and that's where you say the first goal, he's got to mark him. It's got to
yeah.
happen. But like, I also want to go to, we have not seen the best version of Tyler Adams at all yet in these
Mm-hmm.
friendlies. His foul put them in that spot for that to happen right there early on in that game. Like, a really bad foul by him and right outside the box. Like, so I think there's more than just Miles Robinson at play. it's just unfortunate. It keeps he keeps being the guy
Correct.
that is
Yeah.
like at the center of it. Like his face is the
Well, and
first
that's the
face
price you
shown.
pay for playing the center, like the middle of the center backs
Yeah,
too, is you're going
and
to be involved in more of that.
and that's why,
So
and it's also more light shined on it because Chris Richards is waiting, and he's you're by far your best defender on your team. So it's like everyone's just wanting to kill this guy because he's not Chris Richards. Like
right.
regardless of even if he didn't have these blow up turnovers, like that's how people are gonna feel. So I don't know. I'm not gonna. I'm just choosing not to be worried about it and acting like Chris Richards is gonna play. Like I'm just like, yeah, he's gonna play. It doesn't matter. So that's the mindset I'm taking as a U.S. men's national team fan and just hoping for the best. But I, I think overall, just to go back to the Germany game and talk about that specifically, I was impressed. Of course, you have the Anthony Robinson just rocket that comes off his foot. I mean, one of the better goals you will ever see in a live game to happen. Like he even self-admitting after he's like, I've never practiced that. I've never imagined anything like that in my entire life.
Yeah.
Um, so you love that. You love how competitive they were. They had chances to go up in this game 2-1 before Germany scored their second goal, and that's where I'm like, that's the next step I think for this team is we've got to convert on some of these opportunities against these big teams to cement yourself into a round of 16, into a quarterfinal. These type of matchups that hopefully are soon to come for this team, and I'm excited. It gave me hope. I didn't come out of this game frustrated at all. I think we've seen versions of this squad, Tony, that go down 1-0 in the third minute like they did and just completely fall apart from there. And they responded very well in that first half. They absorbed attacks, they countered, they created opportunities. I mean, I think they had like 10 corner kicks in the first half alone.
Yeah,
So
something
they
ridiculous.
were on the attack, and I it's just about executing and breaking down some of these better teams that we want to see more of. But I came out of this Senegal Germany game super excited to see this team against Paraguay and super excited to see this team against Australia and Turkey because I really do think this version of this team can win the group. Um, Now, we've also seen the moments where you get a little scared and you can see how they could come in second or third in the group. I just don't see how this team's talented enough to not get out of the group, and especially in this format this year, I just don't see a world where it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to imagine. I think the main promise with this was that we saw them play a Germany team that's a blue blood. If they were to win this game, we would just be absolutely dancing because part of it is we wouldn't really expect ourselves to win that. And so to watch a game where we didn't get played off the field and it's a friendly, things weird things happen, 20 subs a game, those kind of things like you can't take it super literally, but I think what you can take is that we didn't get played off the field. We showed that maybe while we were a little bit on the lower tier of the two teams on the field, we were not like it's not like we didn't belong there. And I think that's the hope with this is that you give this team a little bit of confidence. You give them a few games in the group stage, right? Where we're presuming they get through, and it just seems more and more likely now after watching these two friendlies that that'll happen. Okay, now you're telling me that this team's within punching distance the first time they meet a blue blood. And that's the exciting part. That's why you look at this and say,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel too bad about this. Is before all the subs came on, it was a 1-1 game going into the last half hour. So that's what you kind of hope with, right? So that's what you lead there. That being said, like I think that we're going to talk about this a lot. There's still plenty of places to improve. We still have our weaknesses, all of that. But I thought that this game, I agree with you 100%. We responded to giving up that early goal very well. There were longer periods of possession for us that you saw us kind of knocking on the door, generating corners. I I debated saying this, but just so we even out a little bit of the Miles hate, he did have a line breaking pass in the lead up for the corner that got us the
Mm-hmm.
goal. So
Mm-hmm.
need to give a little bit there. Not saying he should.
It was
I'd still rather have Aiden Morris or Tanner Tessman on this team, but
it
there
was
was
funny
yeah
when he made it because I when he's making it, I was like, no, 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 no. And like I
Yeah,
was saying that
it
internally
worked.
because I just like envisioned it getting intercepted and us getting countered. And then when it broke, I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, yeah. So you
So
got to
it,
take the good and the bad, right? So
yes,
that's
yes.
yeah.
And
Um,
I think like you said, I come out of it positive. They fought well. Something I do want to touch on is the lineup that was starting. And
yeah,
I think we came in last episode had a lot of question marks about a few positions of like where is he going to go? Like how is he really going to commit to this or is he not? Those were of course the center mid position with Sebastian Berhalter, Wes McKinney. He goes with Wes McKinney. I think he's going to go with that lineup, Tony. I really do. He's going to go with that lineup against a Paraguay and Australia because we are talented enough to defend them without a more defensive midfielder. I think that game to me though in Germany gave me concerns because Weston McKinney there were a decent amount of times he was out of position. He was not able to deal with the pressure as a deep
Malik
lying
Tillman was coming
center
back to
mid.
help, and like,
Pulisic and Tillman both had to come back and help at different points, which I actually didn't mind. So I think you're going to see one of the positions I was going to talk about was Tillman over Reyna was the decision on that other cam position.
yep,
I think you saw the exact reason why. If Weston McKinney is starting at center mid, Blake Tillman has to play that cam position because he works more. He has the ability to work more as a central midfielder, dropping deep and playing that role to support Weston McKinney more so than Gio Reyna does. And I think that's exactly why you saw it. I think that you're going to see that now going forward in the starting lineup against Paraguay, especially. Malik Tillman's going to start. Weston McKinney's going to start. And it's because they can both float back and forth in that position. Because there's going to be times, Tony, when Weston McKinney's going to want to go. Like he's going to want to go, and he should. He's one of our better attacking players. But that's where I'm sure they're coaching into him right now is like, Malik, you've got to notice that if he's going, you can't just fully commit because there's got to
right,
be somebody to make up that ground. And I have concerns against if an opponent like Germany in the knockout stage of starting Weston there because I think they took advantage of that quite a bit in this game. And I think that's where you could see a Sebastian Berhalter feature as the starter to offer more defensively and just for some control on the ball in the defensive half. I know that sounds bizarre, but he is better at that. Like that,
yeah.
it's a skill he has that he's better at than Wes McKinney. Even though he was pulling out Rabona nutmegs on people, or what was it? What did he do? It was
The Elastico,
Elastico nutmeg
yeah,
on the guy on the sideline, which was hilarious. But I think that there were some decisions made on the lineup where everyone had question marks, and it felt like Potts was just like, no, no, fans, I'm aligned with you and probably what we should do here, and that's Weston starting, Malik Tillman have the better talent in our pool on the field. Like we're just gonna choose talent maybe over like tactical decisions against these first two opponents, especially because the talent can make up more than what that tactical positioning will do for who's playing. So you saw Weston in there, you saw Malik Tillman in there. I think the other question mark Tony we had was Pepe and Balogun. Like we didn't know
yeah.
like was that game going to change anything? And dude, I don't know if this game like solved that answer. Like I don't think I saw enough from Balogun against an opponent like this where I'm like, oh, he's got to start. I came out of this game honestly thinking, should Pepe be starting against these type of opponents that he can do some more hold up play? So when we do want to keep possession or play it deep off of like a press that because Germany at one point was pressing us really hard and we kept having to clear it out and we didn't have anybody up front to control these balls and I'm like
Yeah.
Ricardo Pepe would have been so helpful starting in this position in those situations. So I'm interested to see how that all plays out. I think Balogun starting. You're going to see him start against Paraguay. Like these are the guys that are going to start. But I'm interested to know if that position group is at all flexible on who the starter could be based on the opponent. Because I think there's situations where you might want to see Ricardo Pepi starting.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe a little bit concerning that we've only played two strikers in these two games and neither of them find a goal. You know,
Rip Haji Wright and Brennan Aronson, by the way.
yeah. Well, Brennan came on, but I don't know. It just seems to me like uh, I was hoping for a little bit more. And you're kind of talking about the talent versus tactics and what that looks like maybe against different opponents. Like I was kind of thinking like you probably start Balogun like against Paraguay and against Australia because I think that generally right now you still trust him a little bit more as the finisher than Pepe. I think that Pepe's combination, like hold up play and also combination with Pulisic, was pretty undeniable. Like that seems to gel a little bit that way. But I think that on teams where it's like, okay, we've got the talent over top, I think you want to keep Balogun in just because he's the one you can trust to like finish maybe one, maybe two early. And now you're playing with that 2 goal lead in the first half, knock on wood, ideally, and have a lot more control over the game instead of trying to scramble and chase it, which I think that, like, when you're in that mode, Pepe's fantastic for that. Like when, like you said, Germany's pressing you high or whatever, you can launch it long and you go from 5% chance that Balogun collects it and holds up to now like a 25% chance that Pepe collects it, holds up, and now we're moving. So I think that he's better for the chaos ball. And I think that there will be a time and place for that. But I think that starting out these first few games in the group stage probably won't be that unless we find ourselves in a sticky situation like later in the second half. So that I'm mildly concerned about that because these guys were very in form, and we just I don't know if it's how we play that is just not really facilitated that well for them. And you look at this game, like I mean, not to discredit Anthony Robinson's goal whatsoever, but how much did we create that was super like I don't know, repeatable, and it wasn't much. Like I don't think that this game really showed us how we want to attack that much, which is the unfortunate part. Senegal did because that game was a lot more open, but it's a little bit discouraging to me when we have a game where we rip off like 24 shots or 20 shots or something like that. And I just don't really know how we're going to do that consistently. Like what our plan of attack is, other than like give the ball to Pulisic, give the ball to Dest even at times, like and just find these pockets. It doesn't seem like we're really breaking to like create ourselves some very good undeniable chances that put in like in Senegal, like put in Pulisic one on one with the keeper, or across the box where it's you just stick a toe out and Dest can launch it in the net. Like those kind of moments were not there in this Germany game. And I don't know if that's because Balogun was in. I don't know if that was because McKennie was in. I'm not sure what all of that's about, but I was a little bit discouraged in general by our strikers not scoring, and it seems also like
Well, Balogun scored the
potentially.
first game, though.
Or you're right. He did. But not scoring in this one, not being incredibly threatening. Balogun should have scored like 4 in the first game. I don't know. It just like maybe I'm not making sense here, but it just did not feel very repeatable. Like we can keep going to the well. I'm sure against these other teams that'll show itself, but then once we get into the knockouts, once we play Turkey, like those are the kind of games I'm a little bit worried about what the offense
Well,
does.
yeah, I mean, I think that still just speaks to the levels of which this team is at. Like I don't think we can have the expectation we are going to go in and be an attacking force against the top 7, 8 teams in the world. We're just not there yet, and
Right.
I think you saw it in our build-up play against Germany's press. I think you can see that this team still needs to, which we talked about a lot in the build-up to this World Cup. We are not a sexy team. Like we cannot just have
Mm-hmm.
the idea that we're a sexy team. Like we are not. And I think that is what I learned in this Germany game is against a team like Germany, if you're in the knockouts in the round of 16, you're going to have to grit out a win not looking sexy. And is this team capable of that? Like is this team capable of doing that? And I think I whether I know it wasn't perfect and we still lost 2-1. Now that's very different than what a normal game would look like because you're not going to sub off 8 guys like you did in this game. But I think you saw a blueprint of us competing against these type of teams in the round of 16 and the quarterfinals. Like you've got to just keep it close. You've got to keep it close, and you've got to have a moment. And if you can keep it in a draw game, like reality is, especially when that crowd gets into it for this World Cup, and you're the home, you're going to be home like the whole time. Like you can have a moment, and someone can do something, but you've just got to keep it close. So it's really going to come down to
Yeah.
defense in those games. How much can we withstand in counterattack and make it look ugly and muck it up a little bit. So, I, although I think we're critiquing, but I think both of
Yeah.
us feel very strong about where this team is going, especially coming into these friendlies, where how we ended the last set of friendlies.
Oh my
I think this is
gosh.
about as positive as you could feel coming out of this set of friendlies. I mean, if we beat Germany, I think everyone's probably on cloud nine right now.
I was
But
gonna say.
I think this. I don't think this is necessarily even like a bad thing because I think being cloud nine from beating Germany might not have been the best thing for this team either. To think they're all that and then go into like a Paraguay game and get
Right.
punched
Get
in the mouth or
humbled.
something.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll see. Who none of this could matter. The reality is, Tony, it is World Cup week, and we have
We're here.
arrived. And the U.S. men's national team plays this Friday in a real World Cup game against Paraguay in a sold-out Lo-Fi Stadium, which is, I think, the expectation probably at least 60 to 70% all going to be United States fans. You're not going to be able to tell because these two teams, national teams, are the same colors, so
Yeah.
it's going to look red, white, blue everywhere, regardless. But let's hope. Let's hope the fans show up and can have some representation for this team because it's going to be so much fun come Friday. But we'll preview that in our next episode. I do want to get into a little bit of World Cup talk here, Tony, and that is with the Thursday games. So we have a little appetizer. If you're a U.S. men's national team fan, you've got a little tasteful appetizer of a hate watch that is occurring on Thursday. Canada and Mexico are both playing. I believe the Canada game, let me pull it up really quick, is the 3 o'clock game. Am I right in saying that off the top of my head?
No, I think we open with Mexico. Or you're sorry. 3 o'clock on Friday is Canada. 3 o'clock on Thursday is Mexico.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. So Mexico is Thursday at 3 p.m. against South Africa. Legendary. I think it's a fun matchup to start the World Cup with. First time we're seeing South Africa since their World Cup. We know how that went in the first game. They drew 1-1 against Mexico. Am I correct? That was against Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. The Fofana for all of Africa goal. They did the dance. This is about as beautiful of like what a hate watch could be, Tony. If you see Mexico
Yeah.
like go down 1-0 in this game, like this is I don't envy the position Mexico's in. I really don't. I think if you're a U.S. men's national team fan, you're happy that it's Friday, the late game, because being like the first match, like in the entire World Cup, I think is an added pressure.
Oh
Like
yeah,
legitimately,
everyone's watching. Right, yeah.
everyone is watching. You are the opening match. Everyone's locked in. They're ready for it, and it's going to be at home for Mexico. That crowd is going to be bananas. Insane crowd. That is going to be an insane crowd. Now we've seen this crowd turn against their own national team in certain situations, Tony.
Yeah.
And if South Africa can just like make this game gross for like 60 minutes, I think you could see a little bit of testiness start to show with this team. And I really fully expect Mexico to take care of business. I think the reality is I see them scoring early and the crowd getting really into it, and then they end up winning this game like 2-3 nothing. I really do. I think that's the result that's going to happen. But I'm really interested to see how they deal with this pressure. I think it's a real thing. I think it's a good test early if you're an unbiased fan, just to know like where's this Mexico team at in terms of how they can handle being the host country, the opening game, everything under the sun. And we'll see. It's a team they have to beat if they want to feel confident getting out of this group. This is like the game they have to win in this group to be like, yep, this is our win. South Africa is the weakest team in their group, so we'll see how it goes. And then, of course, the 10 p.m. game is South Korea and Czech Republic, and that should be a competitive game as well, a fun one to watch. But give me your takes. How do you feel about this Mexico game and the 10 p.m. game?
You know, obviously I love all of it. It's the World Cup, like that's first and foremost. I think that you're right. Like I'm just excited to see the pictures that come out of just Mexico hosting, because that's just a really special moment. Obviously, the last time the World Cup was here, Mexico was not a host country in that. So for just the Mexican fan base to have that in their country, celebrate their team on a World Cup stage. Like that's electric. That's really cool. And I think you're right. Like there's famous clips of like I believe it was Chicharito that was like, "Oh yeah, our fans like made me retire basically," and like those kind of things. And it's like they are super super intense, and if it doesn't go their way, then yeah, that could turn. The thing is that I don't think that's going to be what in South Africa's mo. And we're going to talk a lot about really talent levels on all of these teams when we're talking about these matchups because, well, A, it's not like I'm familiar with watching every game that Czech Republic national team is playing, but B, like, and a lot of times that's what it comes down to when we're talking about like, oh, well, the Frances and the Brazils and the Spains, like those guys are going to be making the deep runs. The expectations come from the talent levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so like then vice versa, if the talent levels aren't really there for, in this case, South Africa, one, I think the expectation is lower. So is there potential that, you rip off an upset, now we're playing with house money and we're going? Like, absolutely. But it's just not, you get maybe two or three of those a tournament where it's like the team overcomes the talent gap. So to pick South Africa there to be that kind of team is just, it's a tough ask, I think. I think Mexico ultimately is going to take care of business in this one with the home field advantage. Outside of that, the other game in their group is really an interesting one because we kind of talked about this Group A being a three-legged race. And we immediately, leg one right here, Korea versus Czech Republic. We're going to see who's at their depths because if either one of those teams can rip off a win here, that's a massive, massive leg up for how the group shapes up. Because then you still have South Africa to play, and then after that, it's like, you're talking about potentially 6 points, and that's enough to at least get you second. So, yeah, that there's major implications for even the first game at 10 p.m. at night. Like
It
it comes
it
down
adds
big
it
time.
adds the third place team thing adds such an element to the first game. Like it really does because I think in World Cups past, of course, any World Cup you want to win your first game because it just relieves a lot of pressure
Mm.
because you need to, especially in the old World Cup style. But I think you could have in these past World Cups really have been like we're we got to move on. Like we got to win the next one. If you play your cards right, especially I'm not even talking about U.S. national team, Mexico, like some of these teams that are like middle tier. But if you're like a Spain, Tony, or a France, if you can just take care of business in that first game, like there's
Yeah.
some certain guys in your team you can rest. Like that's a real thing that can happen with some of these deep teams. Is like we can rest a Yamal, make sure he's good to go for the knockouts if we just take care of business in the first two games or in the first game. And I think for these middle tier teams, this first game is so important. And for for Mexico, U.S., even South Korea and Czech Republic fall into this, and Canada, if you win that first game, the weight of the world feels like it comes off your shoulders a little bit because now you're just looking at like, okay, we're most likely going to get out of this group. A win's basically going to get you out of the group stage in this World Cup, and it takes a lot of pressure off like that last game against Turkey if you're the U.S. men's national team, and if Mexico can win this game, now these matchups against Czech Republic and South Korea don't, which we think are going to be competitive, aren't going to be as stressful. Like you can go into them with confidence and feel like that you aren't going to let your nation down if you lose one of these games.
Right.
Like that's the type of pressure you can relieve and take off your team with an early win in a tournament style like this. So I think I think it's going to be all eyes for these teams to go give it a go, and vice versa. If you're South Africa or if you're Paraguay, you want to play against the host nation team. I think in the first game, like that in my mind, I think I would want to be like that team because they're nervous. Like that is a you're catching them and with all the pressure, all the fans for their first game on home soil, and if you catch them on the wrong foot and can sneak a point or three out of a game like this, you are sitting pretty as well. So I think they want to be in this situation with all the pressure on these nations early on rather than in the second or third game where a team might be in their groove a little bit.
I could see that. I could also see it as like you're getting a host nation with like just this built-in added momentum,
Hmm.
from ground zero, and they've lived in this time zone. They've been here for weeks longer than I have. Like all of those things, like I think that it kind of counteracts in that way too. But generally speaking, like if you end up in a group with a host nation, you end up with easier teams in your group. So that being said, there is some real benefit to that. Instead of getting a pot A team, one of the blue bloods, you got Mexico or
Oh yeah.
Canada, right? Like
The
so,
reality
there,
is,
right?
Australia and Turkey are pumped that they're in the U.S. men's national team group. They're
So
they are
thrilled.
way more pumped than we are about having them in our group. Like that is
Correct.
a that is a beautiful thing to get a host nation that's not a blue blood host nation. And I mean, like anyone who got grouped with guitar like the last World Cup was like, hell yeah, let's
Yes,
go.
yes, they were
So
dancing. Yeah,
yeah, so it's one of those things that it goes both ways. It really does. It goes both ways, and it adds for an exciting dynamic. Well, let's get into the Friday game as well. Canada taking on Bosnia. Another situation. I'm really excited to watch these first three games for USA, Canada, Mexico because the crowd is going to be bananas
yeah,
for Canada. Of course, they're adding the extra stands for these games for Canada it's at Toronto Stadium, if I'm correct, right?
yeah,
And they're adding the
yep.
extra stands.
Hmm.
That place is going to be loud. It's going to be nuts. So I'm so excited to see how they respond. Canada is probably in the worst spot of the three host nations right now because of their injury situation that's going on. Alfonso Davies is not going to play in this game. Bombito, which
Yeah,
is their strongest defender, is back, but he's had
it's
injury
kind of
things,
in and
so
out. Yeah,
you're concerned about that. And those are two huge pieces. They've also have a bunch of guys like middle tier guys that have just are coming back from injury, like Schaffelberg and some of these guys that have featured heavily for Canada over the past couple of years that just like aren't at 100%. And that's my only concern for this Canadian group. I don't have they won a World Cup game before? Isn't that like a thing? They haven't won.
I mean, it's if it is, it's like in the '80s or '70s.
I
Well,
don't think
actually, wasn't the last World Cup
they
the
didn't
first time they
qualify
ever
for
went?
yeah, they didn't qualify for a long. It was a 30 year or something drought. They were
Yeah,
not in a World Cup, so I don't think they've ever won one. So there is that pressure added on to this, where you've got to win a game, like, and it's on home soil. Like this is the time you've got to do it. I do like I am like secretly, I'm on my hate watch with these two teams, but because I want to be the best host nation. But there is a part of me that's like, okay, I kind of want them to win their first World Cup game because it gets a little sad. It's like this is a host nation. You want
right.
to see them perform to some degree. So I expect them to actually win this game. I think they're going to be up for it. I think this is the game, especially in the Jesse Marsh play style, which is press, 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 and more pressing. Game one is the game that they're going to be the most fresh. Like this is where they're going to be ready to go. So expect them to be buzzing and flying all over the field early on in this one. That's going to be their goal. Is they're going to try and get them Bosnia in a bad situation early and get an early goal and hold on to it is going to be their game plan. So I think this is like one of those games you got to be locked in at 3 because the action's going to happen in that first, I think, 30
Yeah,
minutes for Canada.
correct. I mean, that's the Jesse Marsh way too. I mean, he's a Red Bull coach through and through. So it's like that. That's all he knows how to do, is to send those guys flying up, and that's going to be what. If Canada is successful, if they rip off points in this tournament, that's going to be why. That's going to be their calling card. Is they're just going to want it more than you. And we've seen that work for a little bit. I think the problem is that and I don't think we're at this point. I just don't think Jesse Marsh is going to be the coach of Canada after the World Cup because this kind of play style does not last very long. Players kind of give up on it, get burnt out on it, all that. For a World Cup, though, as a host nation, I mean, it could be lightning in a bottle, I think. So that being said, I think that you have to favor Canada on this. But you mentioned it, the injuries are what's going to really kind of be the just kind of the elephant in the room with them, especially defensively. Obviously, Alfonso Davies, but Bombito, I think, is ruled out for this first game. And then it doesn't help too that the next center back they'd be looking at is Flores. He's not in this tournament at all, right? He got hurt in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. And then even Ralph Priso, the Vancouver guy who would also play center back for them, he's out hurt too. So they're just looking really, really thin, especially at center back. Which for the neutrals out there that love watching some chaos ball, Canada's going to be your one-stop shop in here. Mix in with this don't forget that Bosnia's got Njeko, who I think has to be maybe the most journeyed World Cup player here. I'm sure he's tied with like Messi and Ronaldo, but you know what I mean?
He
Like
hasn't been
it's
as at many World Cups, but he's age-wise up
correct.
there with them.
Yeah. I know. I mean, international play. I'm pretty sure he leads Bosnia in goals. He's this. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere this was his fourth World Cup.
He's
So
40.
yeah, he's 40 years old, but I mean, he's got the experience. So you can look at it that way. If you got some inexperienced Canada center backs, all it takes is one pass that maybe they weren't looking for, one run that he knows will throw him off. Like I don't think you can sleep on Dzeko in this game. Even if he comes on as a sub, obviously that kind of dampens his potential impact. But I just think that this Canada defense is most people, especially if you're qualifying for the World Cup, you have an attack that is competent enough to know how to mold this and at least get a goal, maybe two out of it. So I think we got goals here, and I think we got just chaos ball all around. I think it's going to be a very open game.
Yeah, it will be. It's going to be a messy game. I think this will be the closest game out of the three host nations games. I think Mexico and USA could both win 2-0 and feel good about their victory. And I think this one's going to be a tight, like 2-1, 1-0 type of game that you're going to see in a game like this. So we will see. USA, we're going to leave for our Friday episode. Just that's going to be our time, Tony. We're just going to soak it all in before it starts. Get nervous in every single different way possible, and
We've
be
already been
excited.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited. We're ready for it. Before I leave us, Tony, I've heard this piece of trivia that I wanted to share with you, and I want to share it with the listeners. So give them a time
Yeah.
to answer it as well. Who, out of active U.S. men's national team players, active, who do you think is our second leading scorer?
Active as in on our roster or just active in general?
In the eye of the beholder, Tony.
Okay, I'm going to assume in general then.
It is.
It's
Yes,
it's probably somebody that's playing, but they're not getting called up anymore. Second among active players.
because
Oh,
I think a lot of
gosh.
people's gut reaction would be Weston McKinney. I'm gonna give you
Yeah,
an answer here. That's not the
that's
answer.
not it. No.
Don't be looking up anything. No, no. Give
Oh,
me your
sorry,
real
sorry.
answer.
Okay.
Give
I was
it
just
mine.
looking at the roster.
No, no, no.
Okay, fine.
Let's test your ball knowledge here. In this one, when I heard it, I was listening to a podcast and I heard it. This name of that the answer is came to my mind. So I know it's a name you can get. It's a name. I was like, no, it's probably not him. That'd be kind of crazy.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
No, just answer the question.
Dang it. Okay. Well, I don't know. So I shoot. I'm really tempted to say like something that I just feel is going to be so stupid, but just like just like go basic with Pulisic, but he might be number one, I guess.
No, I
But
said who's the second behind Pulisic?
oh shoot, I missed that part. Perfect. I knew I was going to say something stupid, so it's out of the way now. Um, Dang, this is tough. Who played striker for us against Netherlands?
Yeah, I
It's
can't answer
not.
that question.
It's not Brandon Aronson, is it?
What, Tony?
He scored a couple in the hex.
That might be the worst answer you could have said.
Okay,
I think he may have 4 goals for the U.S. men's national team.
he's got more than that. And when we qualified for the 2022 World Cup,
I'm looking that up.
he went on a run with that. No, it's shoot. It's not Sargent. Is it Weah?
It is Jesus Ferreira.
Damn it. I should have known that.
Jesus Ferreira
He
has
was tearing up the Caribbean teams.
18 goals.
He was tearing up those little islands.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It was. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
Honestly. Brandon Anderson has 9 goals.
double. I was like, oh yeah, he's got. But it's been a minute. That's why I was like, I know that he was really important in qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. He had a lot of key goals there, but I,
Let's see. I think Pulisic is like 30 something.
oh geez.
Pulisic has 33 goals. The next highest active on our roster is 18, and he's not even on the team.
Well, I mean, Pulisic has been around since how old was he when he made his first U.S. appearance? 18.
18. It's just 17.
Yes,
Sorry, it was 17 and a half
17.
years old. Yep.
So he's got some mileage.
Yeah, I'm curious what Weston has because I was shocked it wasn't Weston when I heard it.
Yeah,
He's got 12. Weston has
I was
12.
gonna say probably a little bit
I don't even
more.
know who else would be up there. I was thinking about it. I was like, Josh Sargent.
Yeah, well, but he kind of never really was great for U.S.
He has 5. Josh Sargent only has 5 goals for the
Yeah,
U.S.
he's always looked so different with the U.S. What about Gio?
29,
What's Gio at?
29 games. He has 5
Yeah,
goals
that's
as our
terrible.
striker.
What's Gio at? 5'2"?
9.
9. Okay. Um,
This is just like we're just naming names now. This is
we're
like
yeah
a
now
guys
we're
being
just guys
used.
naming dude. Okay, I was curious about Weah though. What's Weah at?
Haji Wright has 7. Tim Weah has 7.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Ajiman at
like
like
no one even
4.
touches Jesus Ferreira. That's the funny
Yeah.
part. Like no one even touches him.
Oh, because he was destroying like Guam. Like he was
Yeah, I
like
mean the part of the Caribbean. Jesus
yeah.
Ferreira.
Yep. I should have thought
Oh,
of that. Man, we're so
okay, well
close.
let's wrap it up here. We appreciate you guys listening. Go USA. We will be back on Friday for a little recap of the games we saw, and the game we'll be actively listening or watching while that maybe the start of it. The game we did see. We'll see Mexico's game, which will be the big one on that day, and react to that. And then we'll preview USA and everything that comes with that. So we appreciate you guys. We will see you guys on Friday.
See you.